Hurricane Valerius was bearing down, and as a top-tier fighter pilot, I was assigned to a rescue and evacuation mission. But because of a sudden clash of air currents, the plane jolted slightly. Just for that, a young man from first class stormed up to me, his tone hostile. "Do you even know how to fly a plane? With hands that shaky, you have the nerve to sit in the cockpit? You bumped me. Can you afford to compensate me for that? Get on your knees and apologize right now, or you can get ready to go clean toilets." I suppressed my anger and made a calm professional announcement over the intercom. He, however, felt I had made him lose face. He actually burst into the cockpit, lunged for the control stick, and started throwing punches at me. "Who the hell do you think you are, talking back to me? Do you have any idea who my wife is? She's the CEO of Apex Aeronautics in this city. My wife is the law. If you know what's good for you, get on your knees and apologize, or you can forget about ever making it in this city." The CEO of Apex Aeronautics, Victoria Sterling. "Isn't that my wife?" Looking at the man's smug, fearless face, I let out a cold laugh. "Fine. I'd like to see just how she plans to run me, one of this nation's top special operatives, out of town." Chapter 1. The moment I finished speaking, Ethan Miller laughed as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world, clutching his stomach dramatically. "Did you guys hear that? A useless commercial pilot claims he's a top special operative for the country. Look at you. You can't even fly a passenger plane straight. You think you can fly a fighter jet to defend the nation? Who the hell do you think you are?" His cronies immediately chimed in. "Young Master Miller is right. You should take a good look at yourself in a puddle of piss. So what if you work for the government? In this city, if you're a dragon, you coil. If you're a tiger, you lie down. Exactly. Everyone in the city knows how good Ms. Sterling is to young Master Miller. He mentioned he liked tropical islands, and she immediately bought him a private jet for his vacations. Piss off, young Master Miller, and Miss Sterling could crush you with a single finger." A sharp pain lanced through my heart, like being pricked by a needle. All Victoria Sterling had ever given me was a cold house and endless criticism. So it wasn't that she didn't know how to be kind to someone, she just wouldn't be kind to me. My silence was mistaken for fear by Ethan Miller. He grew even more arrogant, stepping forward until his face was nearly touching mine. "What? Scared now? Get on your knees and kowtow to me 3 times, then lick my shoes clean. When my wife gets here, I might even put in a good word for you." As he spoke, he actually raised his hand to slap my face. I grabbed his wrist, stopping him cold. Rage churned in my chest, threatening to overwhelm my reason, but I couldn't move. I was the only top-certified pilot on this plane, with over 100 innocent lives behind me. That responsibility was immense, far more important than my personal dignity. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to release his wrist. My fingernails dug deep into my palm, the sharp pain a welcome anchor. "Mr. Miller, please return to your seat and fasten your seatbelt immediately. The hurricane is intensifying. We may encounter more turbulence. An impact to the cockpit could cause the plane to lose control or even crash. You are currently interfering with my piloting of this aircraft. According to aviation safety regulations, I have the authority to use necessary force to restrain you. Who the hell are you trying to scare? Do you believe I'll—" Before he could finish, he was interrupted by several passengers who had been frightened by the turbulence. "Settle your scores after we land. Don't gamble with everyone's lives. Yeah, safety first, don't you get it? You might not value your life, but we value ours." Ethan Miller's face turned livid. Humiliated, he shot me a venomous glare and lowered his voice. "Fine, you've got guts, just you wait until we get off this plane." I looked out at the roiling sea of clouds and sneered internally. Fine by me. Let's see who will be waiting for whom. Chapter 2. The moment the plane came to a complete stop, Ethan Miller rushed to the cabin door and pointed a finger at my nose. "I'm telling you, you are so dead today, my wife will be here any minute if I don't skin you alive. My last name isn't Miller." I just looked at him with a cold smile and took out my phone to send a message. A few minutes later, the sharp, hurried clicking of high heels echoed through the terminal. Victoria Sterling had arrived. She was dressed in a sleek black business suit, followed by 4 or 5 bodyguards in Apex Aeronautics security uniforms. "Ethan, are you all right?" Her voice held a rare note of concern. She looked him up and down, not sparing me so much as a glance. Honey, seeing her, Ethan Miller immediately pointed at me. It was him he deliberately made the plane shake to scare everyone. I just said something because the turbulence was unbearable. And he got pissed. He even tried to get physical with me. You have to ruin him today. Get him kicked out of the aviation industry for good. All right, don't worry. I'll make sure you get justice. She then looked up at me, but as she was about to speak, she froze. I gave her a mocking smile, and a flicker of unease crossed her face. What are you doing here? If I weren't here, how would I have known my wife has another husband on the side? Victoria looked at me, a trace of guilt in her eyes, and was about to say something. But Ethan Miller exploded like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. You son of a bitch, no wonder you dared to deliberately cause turbulence and talk back to me with such attitude, so you've been dreaming of getting with my wife all along, you social climbing piece of trash. Are you looking to die? He turned and roared at the crowd of onlookers, his voice deafening. All of you, look closely. This sob pilot is nothing but a low-life homewrecker, absolutely shameless. The passengers from the flight gasped, their gazes turning on me with disgust. I was wondering why this guy was so arrogant. Turns out he's just trying to sleep his way to the top. Everyone knows how in love the CEO of Apex and her husband are. Who does this guy think he is, trying to butt in? Disgusting Ethan Miller, Victoria's husband? My head snapped towards Victoria. So this was why she wanted me to hide our marital status, claiming it was to protect my ordinary identity from being disturbed. In reality, it was to make room for this man, her real partner. He's your husband? Then what am I, your legal husband? I stared at her, asking word by word, my voice hoarse. Victoria avoided my gaze, her lips pressed into a thin line. That tiny movement made my heart sink to the bottom of a cold, dark pit. Ethan's face began to darken as well. He grabbed Victoria's arm. Victoria, what the hell is he talking about? You better explain this clearly, or we're through hearing this. Victoria immediately clung to Ethan's arm, explaining anxiously. Ethan, what nonsense are you talking about? You're the only one for me. Don't you ever talk about breaking up again. I watched the scene unfold, feeling the immense irony of it all. She had never spoken to me with such tenderness. For others, it came so easily. After a moment's hesitation, Victoria pointed a sharp finger at me and announced loudly to everyone present, "Don't listen to his nonsense. This person is a stalker. He's been harassing me for ages, and after I rejected him, his love turned to hate. That's why he deliberately targeted Ethan today, in revenge. My only husband is Ethan. To protect Ethan Miller, she was willing to completely distort our relationship. She even gave my identity to him." Upon hearing this, Ethan's arrogance returned in full force. He commanded the bodyguards, "What are you standing around for? Seize this creep who's been harassing my wife and teach him a lesson. I'll take responsibility for whatever happens." The bodyguards immediately closed in on me. Victoria's eyes flickered with uncertainty, but in the end, she stood by and allowed it to happen. In that instant, any love I had left for her vanished completely. I raised my eyes to the approaching bodyguards. "If any of you lay a finger on me today, I guarantee that you, and your young master Miller behind you, will disappear from this city by tomorrow." Chapter 3. You think you can do that? I could make one phone call right now and you wouldn't even be able to leave this airport. In this city, my wife is the law. Ethan Miller laughed maniacally. Hearing his words, the bodyguards advanced more boldly, surrounding me completely. Seeing that her security was about to attack me, Victoria sighed, her eyes filled with disappointment. "Sincere, that's enough. Ethan has a short temper. Just apologize, and this will all be over." Victoria's words sounded like she was mediating, but in reality she was pinning all the blame on me. The crowd's murmurs swelled immediately. Someone pursed their lips at me. "This captain is so ungrateful. Miss Sterling is giving him a way out and he's not taking it." Exactly. Young Master Miller is clearly an important man. A guy like this probably isn't even worthy of shining his shoes. Ethan stood behind Victoria, his eyes brimming with smugness and provocation. "You hear that? Kneel and kowtow to me now. Say, 'Grandpa, I was wrong 3 times, and I'll let you go.' How about it?" I just looked at him and gave a scornful laugh. "You want me to kneel and apologize? You should first see if you're worthy. You attempted to assault a crew member and threaten flight safety. That's a criminal offense. I've already called the police." "Criminal offense?" Ethan laughed as if it were the funniest thing he'd ever heard. "In this city, my word is the law. A mongrel like you has the right to talk to me about the law. I say one word, and you have to get on your knees and beg for mercy I didn't speak." Victoria's brow furrowed even deeper as she warned me in a cold voice. Sincere, stop making a scene. With me here, no one in this city will dare to take your case. Ethan was publicly disrespected by you and got a scare. Just apologize to him and this matter ends here. What more could you possibly want? Her words were laughable. I remembered a time when an old enemy framed me with fabricated evidence, accusing me of stealing military secrets, nearly ending my career. Back then, Victoria just told me to swallow my pride, counseling me that it was better to avoid trouble, that taking a loss was a blessing in disguise. But now, just because her precious Ethan got a little scared, she was defending him this fiercely. In her eyes, the law had become a joke that a mongrel like me wasn't fit to discuss. In that case, I was curious to see if she really had the power to stop an arrest warrant issued by the National Security Bureau. Then, let's just wait and see. Just then, a message came through on my phone. The other party replied that the process was underway, and the arrest warrant would be issued shortly. What are you pretending for? Don't you know my wife runs this city? Wait and see? What can a pretty boy like you possibly do? How about this? Crawl between my legs, bark 3 times like a dog, and pay me $5 million for emotional distress, and I'll consider letting you go. As soon as he finished, a chorus of mocking laughter erupted from the crowd. That's it? Young Master Miller is too kind. If this was my wife's secret lover, I'd beat him to death. This guy is disgusting. Trying to get ahead with tactics like these? He should take a good look at himself. Does he think he's worthy? Miss Sterling won't even give him the time of day. Although Victoria hesitated, she ultimately sided with Ethan. She looked at me and said, "I'll give you 10 minutes to think it over." It was she who had begged to be with me, promising that she would never let anyone bully me. Those sweet words from the past now felt like the cruelest irony. No need for 10 minutes, a mere $5 million. Consider it a donation to charity. I averted my gaze, my tone as flat as if I were discussing something utterly trivial. At these words, the entire area fell silent. Victoria's face showed surprise. She clearly hadn't expected me to agree so readily. "Where did you get that kind of money? Aren't you just—" I ignored her, speaking calmly. "Victoria, once the money is transferred, we're done." Victoria's face turned deathly pale in an instant. I took out my phone, my finger scrolling through my contacts. I found the number marked with a special code name and pressed the call button. The moment the call connected, I deliberately put it on speaker. A clear male voice came through immediately. "Team Leader Anderson, what are your orders?" "Adjutant Shaw, help me transfer $5 million to this account." I read out the account number Victoria had just given me, my voice steady. "The memo is compensation for Mr. Miller's emotional distress." "Understood, Team Leader. The funds will arrive in 10 minutes. Ethan Miller watched me put on a show with the phone, laughing so hard he doubled over. "Sincere, you really know how to act, Adjutant Shaw? I bet it's Mr. Shaw from the corner store downstairs, right? Trying to fool people with cheap tricks like this. You're dumber than you look. You're just a damn pilot. Who are you trying to kid? 10 minutes for the money to arrive? Do you even have that kind of money? Or did you earn it by being some rich lady's boy toy?" Before I could respond, Adjutant Shaw, having heard the insult, spoke up immediately. "Sir, please watch your language. Comrade Sincere Anderson is a national hero and will not be slandered by you." "Him? A damn pilot is a national hero. I think your eyes are in your ass." The bodyguards and the crowd joined in the laughter, their eyes filled with contempt. Victoria remained silent, clearly believing I was putting on an act as well. "We'll see if it's an act or not soon enough." I hung up the phone, ignoring them. I could give them the money. I was just afraid the Miller family wouldn't dare to accept it. Chapter 4. Once the money was transferred, it would become concrete evidence of Ethan Miller extorting a public official. The trouble that followed would be more than they could handle. Ethan Miller crossed his arms, his eyes dripping with mockery. "All right then. If there's nothing in 10 minutes, you'll be the Miller family's personal watchdog from now on." The minutes ticked by. Even the onlookers who had initially believed me started to look at me with derision. "Look at this poor loser trying to act cool. I bet he doesn't have a dime. He's going to be skinned alive by the Millers. In a minute he dared to offend young Master Miller. He's finished." The smile on Ethan's lips grew wider. 3 minutes left, Sincere. "Have you figured out how you want to die? Or are you planning to kneel, kowtow, and call me Grandpa a few times to beg me to let you go?" His words drew a fresh round of laughter from the crowd. "You should probably worry about how you're going to die first after insulting and extorting a national hero." Humiliated and enraged, Ethan Miller raised his hand to slap me. You bum, how dare you threaten me? Victoria also looked at me with disappointment. Sincere, would it kill you to stop pretending? Ethan is furious. Can't you just apologize? If you really push me, forget about your crappy job. I'll make it so you can't even find a scrap of food in this city. Just as her voice fell, a transaction notification popped up on her phone. $5 million, down to the last cent. The crowd gasped in unison and the place erupted. No way, how does a broke pilot have that much money? My God, who is this guy? The person on the phone called him a national hero. Could it be true? Ethan froze on the spot, staring at the screen in utter disbelief. This is impossible. Before he could process it, a series of orderly footsteps echoed from the airport entrance. Several uniformed law enforcement officers strode in and announced in a grave voice, "Who is Ethan Miller? We have orders from our superiors. You are under arrest for the crime of insulting and extorting a national hero." Hearing this, the color drained from both Ethan's and Victoria's faces, leaving them deathly white. Chapter 5. Arrest? On what grounds are you arresting me? Ethan Miller stumbled back a step, pointing a finger at the officers and screaming, "Open your damn eyes and look carefully. I'm the husband of CEO Victoria Sterling of Apex Aeronautics. You dare to touch me? You must have a death wish." The lead officer emotionlessly presented the arrest warrant. "Ethan Miller, you are suspected of extorting a public official. The evidence is conclusive. Please come with us." What damn evidence? Ethan's face contorted, and he stood rooted to the spot. "Sincere Anderson, this is your doing, isn't it? Putting on a show, hiring a bunch of actors to try and scare me?" He lunged forward to shove the officers, but was swiftly restrained by the shoulder. Ethan struggled like a rabid dog, screaming obscenities. "You dare to lay a hand on me? Believe it or not, my wife will have you all fired and begging on the streets." Victoria finally snapped back to her senses. She rushed forward to stand in front of Ethan, her eyes flashing with a warning. "Sincere, don't push your luck. Do you really think I'm a pushover? Tell them to get lost right now, otherwise I'll make you vanish from this city so completely that not even your ashes will be found for the sake of our past. I don't want to be too ruthless." "Don't force my hand, our past?" I let out a short, sharp laugh. "Ms. Sterling, don't you think it's ridiculous to bring up our past now?" Behind her, Ethan's eyes were bloodshot with rage as he yelled at the top of his lungs. "Victoria, why are you still wasting your breath on this idiot? Just have the security throw him and this bunch of losers out." The bodyguards behind Victoria took a step forward, facing off against the law enforcement officers. The air instantly froze. The surrounding passengers, terrified, backed away, their whispers growing louder. Did young Master Miller really mess with the wrong person this time? These actors are pretty convincing. Their props are so detailed. Tisk, tisk, maybe young Master Miller really did commit a crime? The lead officer's face darkened. He pulled out his badge and held it up to Victoria's face. "We are legitimate law enforcement officers conducting official business under the protection of the law. Obstructing justice is a crime. Are you aware of the consequences?" Victoria's face alternated between pale and flushed, but she forced herself to remain calm. "Cut the crap, you're not taking him anywhere without concrete evidence. My legal team is on their way. They'll show you the consequences. Of framing Ethan, the evidence has already been submitted to the relevant authorities. Ethan Miller's account just received the $5 million in question, with a clear memo." The officer's tone grew sterner. "Miss Sterling, if you insist on obstructing us, we'll be forced to take measures." Hearing this, Ethan screamed even louder. "What illicit funds?" He practically begged me to take it. "How is that extortion? I gave it voluntarily, but you demanded it through threats and intimidation. That is the definition of extortion." I spoke calmly, my eyes devoid of any warmth. Victoria immediately backed him up, her voice sharp and piercing. "That's enough, Sincere. I've seen enough of this pathetic little play. Don't test my limits. Whether it's a play or not will become clear at the station." The officer wasted no more time. He gave a nod to the men behind him. "Take him away." Two officers immediately moved forward and seized the violently struggling Ethan Miller. Victoria was so frantic she was biting her lip, yet she didn't dare give the order for her bodyguards to intervene. "You can't take him. I'm calling the mayor right now. I'd like to see who dares to touch him." "Then, Miss Sterling, calling anyone is useless." I walked up to her, my gaze as cold as ice. "Did you think you own this city? Do you really think the law is just for show?" Victoria looked at me, and for the first time a flicker of panic appeared in her eyes, though her words remained defiant. "Sincere, even if Ethan is taken away today, I can get him out if you dare to frame him. I will make you pay a price so steep you will wish you were never born. I gave a cold laugh, looking at the furious, helpless woman before me without a ripple of emotion. The show was just getting started. Chapter 6. Ethan Miller was dragged away like a dead dog, his screams and curses echoing down the jet bridge before fading into the distance. Victoria was left standing there, her face ashen, her chest heaving violently. The queenly image she so carefully maintained had shattered into a million pieces. The surrounding passengers pointed and whispered, the sound buzzing like flies. The same people who had been fawning over Ethan and mocking me moments ago now avoided my gaze, their eyes shifting uncomfortably. Victoria's head snapped up. Her bloodshot eyes locked onto me, a look so intense it was as if she wanted to devour me whole. Sincere Anderson, she practically spat my name through gritted teeth, her heels clicking furiously on the floor as she stormed towards me. Are you satisfied now? What good does it do you to have Ethan locked up? I watched her with a blank expression, as if observing a drama that had nothing to do with me. The law enforcement agencies are acting according to the law. What does it have to do with me? Bullshit, she hissed, her lack of composure drawing more attention. Don't think I don't know this was your doing. Go and withdraw the complaint right now. Get Ethan released. Immediately her tone was still imperious, commanding, as if I were still the useless husband she could manipulate at will. I twisted my lips into a mocking smirk. Miss Sterling, it seems you still haven't grasped the situation. The evidence is conclusive. The procedure is legal. It's not something I can influence with a single word. Victoria choked on her breath, clearly enraged by my impenetrable demeanor. She took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing her fury. Her expression shifted, and suddenly she adopted a condescending air of bestowing charity. She smoothed her slightly disheveled hair, lifted her chin, and spoke in a tone one might use to decide another's fate. Sincere, let's talk. I remained silent, waiting for her to continue. Seeing I wasn't responding, she softened her tone slightly, though it was still laced with a nauseating sense of superiority. I know you're doing all this because you feel slighted, because you want my attention. I almost laughed out loud. She continued her performance as if granting me a great favor. How about this? As long as you agree to drop the charges, get Ethan out safely, and promise to never bother him again, I can agree not to divorce you. She paused, carefully observing my reaction, as if expecting to see me overjoyed. You can continue to use the title of Mr. Sterling, and Apex Aeronautics won't hold today's little outburst against you. Your life can go back to how it was. She even added magnanimously, and of course this misunderstanding between you and Ethan will be forgotten. I won't hold a grudge. Having delivered her speech, she stood there as if she had made a monumental compromise, waiting for my gratitude. The air grew still. A few of my crew members who hadn't left yet stared at Victoria with wide eyes, as if they couldn't believe what they were hearing. I looked at her quietly, at this woman I once loved, now humiliating herself in the most foolish way imaginable, squandering her very last chance. My heart was as still as a stagnant pond, without a single ripple. Victoria, I began slowly, my voice not loud but clear enough for everyone to hear. Do you still think I'm fighting him for the title of your husband? I took a step forward, closing the distance between us, looking down at the panic finally beginning to spread in her eyes. Do you still think your precarious Apex Aeronautics holds any attraction for me? A small smile touched my lips. Do you really believe that not divorcing me is some great act of charity? My presence forced her back half a step. Her face grew even paler as she tried to maintain her composure. Sincere, don't be an ungrateful fool. This is your last chance, my last chance. I let out a soft laugh, filled with infinite scorn. Victoria, listen carefully. I enunciated each word clearly. First, I've already signed the divorce papers. Once you sign them, we are done. Second, Ethan Miller is getting what he deserves. No one can save him. Third, my gaze swept over her pale face. Drop your ridiculous superiority complex. In my eyes, everything you have right now, including you, I paused deliberately, savoring the fear that made her pupils constrict, is cheap and utterly worthless. With that, I turned away from her devastated expression and walked straight towards the airport exit. Behind me, I heard Victoria's shriek, tinged with hysteria. Sincere, you'll regret this. I'll make you come back to me on your knees, begging regret. I stepped into the sunlight outside the airport and squinted. The one who should have regrets was never me. The game was only half over, and they were about to lose their right to even sit at the table. Chapter 7. I'd just gotten into my car when my phone rang. It was an encrypted number. Team leader, urgent mission. The voice on the other end was frantic. The Sky Shark is malfunctioning. It's stuck on the test field, and you're the only one who can handle it. The Sky Shark was the latest generation of fighter jet, a top national secret that only I could pilot. Just as I was about to answer, someone started banging on my car window. It was Victoria, her face a mask of fury. "Sincere, get out of the car. This business with Ethan isn't over." I lowered the window and looked at her coldly. "Move. I have a mission." "A mission?" Victoria laughed as if it were the joke of the century. "You, a pilot who's about to be fired? What important mission could you possibly have?" She grabbed the edge of the window. "You're not going anywhere until this is resolved. I've already contacted Director Wang at the Federal Aviation Administration. You can expect a suspension notice." The person on the phone had clearly heard the commotion. His tone grew serious. "Team leader, do you require assistance?" Just then, a screech of tires filled the air. 3 black SUVs screeched to a halt, boxing my car in. Several men in black suits with imposing auras jumped out. The man in the lead was an officer with a general's star on his shoulder. Victoria was startled by the display, but her arrogance quickly returned. "Oh, you hired more actors? Sincere, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel," she barked directly at the man dressed as a general. "I don't care what film crew you're from. Leave immediately. I'm handling important business here." The general didn't even glance at her. He walked straight to my car window and gave a perfect military salute. "Colonel Anderson, the Western Theater Command requests immediate assistance. General Arthur Grant, director of the Sky Shark project, under orders to escort you." His voice was powerful, each word landing like a hammer blow on Victoria's heart. "This is a special passage order signed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff." He handed over a tablet displaying a bright red digital seal. "The airspace has been cleared, and a private military transport is on standby. Please proceed to the Xinjiang proving grounds immediately." The blood drained from Victoria's face. She stared at me in disbelief, then back at the general, her lips trembling. "Colonel? Impossible. He's just a commercial pilot." Only then did General Grant give her a cold look. "Ma'am, you are obstructing a top-level national military mission. Under the National Security Act, I can have you arrested on the spot." The men behind him took a menacing step forward. Victoria stumbled back, her high heel twisting, nearly causing her to fall. Her eyes, fixed on me, were filled with terror and confusion. I pushed open the car door, not even bothering to look at her, and nodded to General Grant. "Let's go." Sincere Victoria suddenly screamed and lunged forward, trying to grab my arm, but she was blocked by the general's aide. She yelled like a madwoman. "You lied to me. You've been lying to me all along. A simple pilot. It was all fake." I stopped and looked back at her one last time. "I never said I was a simple pilot," I said calmly. "It was you who looked down on me with your arrogance, who treated me like I was nothing. Now," I pulled a cold smile, "you get to see the real me, just as you wished." Without another word, I got into the military SUV. The convoy sped away, leaving Victoria collapsed on the pavement, her face ashen. In the rear-view mirror, her figure grew smaller and smaller. Ahead of me lay a critical piece of national technology waiting for my rescue. This was my true battlefield. Chapter 8. The military transport landed directly at a top-secret proving ground in Xinjiang. The moment I stepped off the plane, I was surrounded by anxious engineers and officers. "Colonel Anderson, the Sky Shark's control system is completely locked down. All conventional methods have failed. Only your special authorization and operational mode can execute a manual override." I walked briskly towards the hangar while being briefed. The situation was more critical than I'd imagined. Not only was the Sky Shark unresponsive, but its core database was in a self-destruct countdown. Just as I was about to board, my adjutant hurried over, handing me a tablet with a grim expression. "Team leader, look at this." On the screen was a live broadcast of Victoria holding an emergency press conference. She stood before a throng of reporters, her face pale but her voice firm. "As the CEO of Apex Aeronautics, I solemnly declare that former Captain Sincere Anderson has been terminated from our company for immoral conduct. Out of spurned love, he maliciously framed my fiancé, Ethan Miller." Alongside the broadcast, fabricated evidence scrolled across the screen. The video of my conflict with Ethan had been maliciously edited to make it look like I had started the fight. There was even a forged psychological evaluation claiming I suffered from delusional disorder. The live chat was filled with vile comments that trash pilot should just die. I support Mess Sterling. A person like that is allowed to fly a plane? My adjutant spoke in a low voice. Public opinion is completely one-sided. Should we? I let out a cold laugh and handed the tablet back to him. Ignore it. Prepare for boarding. Half an hour later, I was seated in the cockpit of the Sky Shark. I pushed the control stick forward, and the black fighter jet shot into the sky like a sword. And at that moment, I made a decision. Patch me through to the National Air Traffic Control public channel, I ordered, and activate the onboard panoramic cameras. Feed the live signal to all major media platforms. My adjutant was shocked. Team leader, that violates security protocols. Follow the order, I said, my tone leaving no room for argument. It's time certain people see exactly who it is they've been insulting. At that moment, in airport control towers across the country, in the cockpits of every flying commercial airliner, and even on television screens in millions of homes, the feed suddenly switched to a single image. Against the vast blue sky, a futuristic fighter jet was performing maneuvers that defied the laws of physics. In the corner of the screen was a close-up of my profile, calm and focused. A steady voice broadcast across the nation, "This is Sky Shark test pilot Sincere Anderson. In light of recent false rumors circulating about me, I am now, under orders, conducting a special test flight to set the record straight. The following maneuvers will demonstrate our country's latest advancements in aviation technology. Unauthorized personnel are advised not to attempt to replicate them." For the next 10 minutes, I piloted the Sky Shark, carving perfect arcs through the sky, each move leaving aviation experts utterly stunned. The tide of public opinion in the live chat reversed instantly. This skill. Is he a god? Everyone who was just insulting him needs to come out and apologize. Wait, isn't this the useless pilot Victoria Sterling was talking about? Finally, I brought the jet to a hover above the proving grounds and spoke calmly into the camera. A real pilot lets his skills do the talking. As for certain people who rely on slander to get attention, I paused intentionally, letting the entire nation listen in. You are not worthy of judging my profession. When I landed the jet smoothly, my adjutant ran up to me, ecstatic. Team leader Victoria's press conference was cut short. The entire internet is digging up dirt on her, and the Miller family's corporate stock has plummeted. I took off my helmet and wiped the sweat from my brow, my expression unreadable. Chapter 9. 1 month later in the city's Supreme Court, a high-profile trial was underway. I sat at the plaintiff's table, dressed in a crisp military uniform, the colonel's insignia on my shoulders gleaming brightly. Across from me at the defendant's table, Victoria Sterling and Ethan Miller looked gaunt and haggard, their eyes darting around nervously. Defendant Victoria Sterling, charged with embezzlement, commercial fraud, and endangering national security. Defendant Ethan Miller, charged with extortion, endangering public safety, and perjury. With each charge read by the prosecutor, a collective gasp went through the gallery. The press section was a flurry of camera flashes, their lenses all aimed at the two trembling figures in the dock. "Impossible, you have no proof." Victoria suddenly shot to her feet, hysterical. "Sincere, why are you doing this to me?" I calmly opened the file in front of me and pushed a stack of photographs toward her. They were surveillance snapshots of her meeting with foreign agents 3 years ago. The timestamp matched the exact moment I had encountered a mysterious accident during a top-secret mission. 3 years ago, you leaked my coordinates to a foreign agency, resulting in the deaths of 3 of my comrades. My voice was ice cold. Did you really think I made an emergency landing because of engine failure? The color drained from Victoria's face, leaving it as white as a sheet. Ethan was trembling uncontrollably. "You're lying, Victoria would never." The judge slammed his gavel down. "Silence, the defendant will remain quiet." Just then, the courtroom doors opened, and an elderly man in a general's uniform walked in steadily. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. The newcomer was none other than General Grant from the Military Disciplinary Commission. General Grant nodded to the judge, then turned to me and gave a solemn military salute. "Comrade Sincere Anderson, we have verified all the evidence you provided. Thank you for enduring 3 years of humiliation and for your contribution to our national security." He turned to face the court, his voice ringing with authority. "Victoria Sterling has been providing our country's military-industrial intelligence to foreign organizations for a long time, and Ethan Miller has been using his status to launder foreign funds. The evidence is irrefutable. The trial lasted 6 hours. When the judge finally delivered the verdict, Victoria collapsed to the floor. Defendant Victoria Sterling, guilty on all counts, sentenced to life in prison. Defendant Ethan Miller, guilty on all counts, sentenced to 30 years in prison. The bailiffs moved forward to handcuff them. As she was being led away, Victoria suddenly struggled frantically, her eyes locked on me. "Sincere, did you ever love me at all?" I slowly rose and walked over to her. From the pocket of my uniform, I took out a faded wedding band. It was the same one she had let Ethan throw away in front of all those passengers. "I did," I said softly, watching the last flicker of hope ignite in her eyes. "But the moment you chose to betray our country and our soldiers, the Sincere who loved you died." Then, before her stunned eyes, I tossed the ring into a nearby trash can, where it landed with a faint metallic clink. 3 months later, I stood before a martyr's tomb. The names of my 3 comrades were carved into the stone, their photos forever capturing their youthful smiles. I gently placed a bouquet of white chrysanthemums at the base and raised my hand in a standard military salute. "Brothers, rest in peace. The people who harmed you have received the punishment they deserve." The wind whispered through the pine trees, a soft rustling sound like a response from my fallen comrades. As I turned to leave, the setting sun cast my shadow long behind me. At the end of the road, a brand new fighter jet waited on the runway for its pilot, and I would continue to guard the sky that they had defended with their lives. End of story.